It's no secret that the Cleveland Browns have been, let's say, persistently troubled. Dysfunctional ownership? Check. Quarterback roulette? Triple check. Coaching carousels, botched trades. Big-name signings that fizzle faster than a soda left open overnight? All there. The Browns have spent the better part of 2 decades looking like they're building something, only to knock it all down before the paint even dries. And just when it looked like maybe, just maybe, they were turning a corner, Jason Kelce entered the chat. Now, you probably know Kelce as the guy who anchored one of the best offensive lines in recent NFL memory. Super Bowl champ, locker room leader, one half of the most lovable football brother duo in recent history. But retirement? That's only sharpened his already brutal honesty.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
So when Jason Kelce opened his mouth and casually dismantled the Cleveland Browns on a recent podcast, you could feel the tension shift, like the entire football world paused, turned its head, and went, "Oh, he said it." He didn't sugarcoat, didn't dance around it, just straight up said what a lot of people have been thinking for years. Kelce called out the Browns for being what he described as an unstable, poorly led, chaos-ridden franchise that seems more interested in chasing flashes of hype than building something real. And he didn't stop there. He questioned their leadership structure, their financial decisions, their injury management, their QB situation, and, yes, that contract. You know the one. The $230 million fully guaranteed deal that now has Deshaun Watson permanently tied to franchise like a luxury yacht with a broken motor, one that's been taking on water since the day it was unveiled. Kelce's critique landed like a sledgehammer. And here's the thing, it wasn't mean-spirited. It wasn't some bitter rant. It was measured, grounded, and coming from a place of deep football IQ. That made it sting even more. Because when Jason Kelce, a guy who's seen championship culture up close, tells the world that your house is built on sand, you listen. Well, unless you're the Browns. Because instead of reflecting, the Browns decided to clap back. Ownership got defensive. The response was swift, snappy, and emotional. Apparently, Kelce's comments were unfair, uninformed, and irresponsible. All the hits, which is kind of hilarious, considering this is the same team that's been responsible for more on-field collapses and off-field circus acts than any other franchise this side of Washington. And that's saying something. But let's back it up, because before Kelce ever opened his mouth, the Browns were already wobbling under the weight of their own choices. You don't get to where Cleveland is without effort. They've earned this reputation, brick by chaotic brick. It starts with leadership. The ownership group, led by Jimmy Haslam, has developed a reputation for impulsive decision-making. Coaching changes have been a near-annual tradition. The front office feels like it's constantly rebuilding. Not the roster, but itself. You bring in one GM with a new vision. He drafts his QB. It doesn't work. He's fired. Repeat. By the time Deshaun Watson was brought in, the franchise was already spinning. Baker Mayfield had been scapegoated for everything short of global warming. The team had a playoff win under its belt, but no real direction. So they threw the most guaranteed money in league history at a quarterback who hadn't played in over a year and was surrounded by serious off-field controversy. And they said, this is the guy. This is our future. Since then, inconsistent play, more injuries, a fan base that's infused, exhausted, and still somehow hopeful, and a locker room that's constantly trying to convince itself that the storm isn't still brewing. Kelce, from his outside but informed perspective, saw right through the PR fog, and he called it for what it is, a franchise that keeps reaching for Band-Aids while ignoring the gaping wound. Let's talk about that wound. Injuries have ravaged the Browns. Some of it is bad luck, but some of it is structural. You got key players going down year after year. Nick Chubb, Jack Conklin, Denzel Ward, leaving the team scrambling midseason. There's no depth, no long-term contingency, just hope. And hope isn't strategy. Then there's the quarterback crisis. 1 minute it's Deshaun. Then he's out. Then it's P.J. Walker. Then Dorian Thompson-Robinson. Then, in the most 2023 thing ever, Joe Flacco, risen from the ashes like a quarterbacking phoenix, is out here winning games. Flacco balled out. We're not denying that. But when your offense is more stable with a 39-year-old backup signed off the couch than the guy you just gave $250 million to, you've got a problem. And that's what Kelce was really pointing to. Not just the Watson deal, not just the injuries, but the entire vibe of the franchise. There's no consistency, no long-term blueprint, just chaos disguised as aggression. Cleveland has all the ingredients. Talent? Absolutely. Garrett Cooper and Njoku, Chubb, they've got studs. But no matter how good the roster looks, they keep tripping over the same root, themselves. And while the Browns are busy fighting their own reflection, the rest of the division is thriving. The Ravens are a well-oiled machine. Lamar Jackson is finally healthy and reminding everyone why he's an MVP. The Bengals had a rough patch, but Joe Burrow is still the golden child of the AFC. And the Steelers? Mike Tomlin could coach a pack of squirrels to a winning season. In the AFC North, you can't just be good, you have to be flawless. And Cleveland? They're not even stable. So when Jason Kelce pointed that out, he wasn't wrong. He just said what fans, analysts, and even players have been thinking for years. It's just that now, someone with gravitas finally said it out loud. And the Browns had no idea how to handle that mirror being held up to their face. Which brings us to now. The team is walking into another season with sky-high expectations and a cloud of doubt. Can Deshaun Watson bounce back? Can the coaching staff hold the locker room together? Will the front office resist the urge to blow everything up after a few bad games? And more importantly, can they finally shut up the critics? Because now, Jason Kelce's words are lingering in the air like a curse. Every interception, every blown coverage, every awkward press conference will be filtered through that lens. Are they still dysfunctional? Or did they finally figure it out? And if they fail, if the wheels come off again this year, Kelce's words won't just be right. They'll be prophetic. Look, no one wants to see the Browns implode. The NFL is more fun when Cleveland is good. The fan base deserves it. The city deserves it. But to get there, this team needs to do more than react. They need to evolve. You don't fix a reputation like this with a flashy offseason or one good year. You fix it by stacking smart decisions, by sticking with a vision, by letting football people make football decisions, and by not freaking out every time someone tells you the truth. So maybe, just maybe, Jason Kelce gave them a gift. A loud, uncomfortable, brutally honest gift. Because if this finally wakes the Browns up, if this helps them course correct, then yeah, the truth hurt, but it might have saved them. All right, your turn. Was Jason Kelce out of line, or just the only one brave enough to say what needed to be said? Do you think the Browns have a real shot at redemption this season, or is it just another chapter in the NFL's longest-running soap opera? Drop your thoughts in the comment below, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the beautiful chaos that is pro football. Like this video if you've ever rooted for the Browns, or just watch their saga like it's the best show on TV. Because let's be real, with Cleveland, it's never boring. If you're thinking, wow, this feels like a lot over one dude talking on a podcast, you're not wrong. But that's the thing. This wasn't just Jason Kelce talking. This was a respected NFL veteran, a Super Bowl champ, and a guy who knows what it looks like when an organization actually functions, calling out a franchise that's been faking stability like it's a skill. And the Browns? Instead of keeping it cute and quiet, they threw gasoline on the fire. What could have been a 48-hour media cycle became a full-blown PR storm because they made it one. They turned a tough but fair comment into a referendum on their entire operation. And in doing so, they told on themselves. If the Browns were truly confident in their direction, would they be this bothered by an outside voice? Would they be scrambling to defend their honor like they're on trial? No, but here we are. And let's be real for a second. This isn't just about pride. This is about pressure. You can feel it, right? That creeping sense of, if this doesn't work, it all burns. Because Cleveland is running out of excuses, out of scapegoats, out of fresh starts. They've changed the coaches. They've cycled through front offices. They've tried the scrappy underdog arc, the shiny new toys arc, the give us one more year arc. And none of it has stuck. The Deshaun Watson deal was supposed to be the reset button. The swing for the fences, throw caution to the wind. This is our guy move. They didn't just invest money. They invested credibility. And it backfired. Hard. Now, instead of being hailed as visionaries, they're being roasted by former players on podcasts. And that's why Kelce's words hit different. Because they came from someone who knows what right looks like, and immediately saw that Cleveland's not even close. Let's break down the layers of dysfunction here, because it's not just one bad season. It's not even 10. It's a culture that seems permanently stuck in survival mode. Take the quarterback situation. Name a franchise with more high-profile QB flops than Cleveland. I'll wait. You've got a graveyard of names. Brady Quinn, Colt McCoy, Johnny Manziel, Deshaun Kaiser, Baker Mayfield, and now Deshaun Watson. Some were busts. Some were victims of the system. But all were chewed up and spit out by an organization that changes directions faster than a Madden user with ADD. And even when they do hit on something, like Baker winning a playoff game in Pittsburgh, they can't seem to build on it. They panic. They overcorrect. They throw the baby out with the bathwater and start again. Jason Kelce wasn't attacking Cleveland just to stir the pot. He was pointing out that this pattern never ends unless someone steps up and breaks it. But instead of saying, you know what? Maybe we do need to look in the mirror, the Browns fired back with full PR fury. And look, I get it. Nobody likes being called out, especially not in public. But the way they handled it screamed insecurity, screamed desperation. Let's talk about leadership, because that's where everything starts, and where Cleveland keeps getting it wrong. Good organizations have a clear chain of command. The owner hires a GM, the GM hires a coach, and everyone stays in their lane. The mission is clear. The process is respected. And when adversity hits, and it always does, everyone pulls in the same direction. Cleveland? Total opposite. Over the years, they blurred lines so badly that no one's sure who's calling the shots. You got coaches who outlast their GMs. GMs who get hired before coaches. Owners making football calls one week and backing off the next. It's like an improv group where no one knows the scene. And this isn't just annoying. It's fatal. Because when there's no hierarchy, no accountability, every mistake becomes a group project. And you know what happens to group projects? Nothing gets done and everybody points fingers. So when Kelce said the Browns have a fragile foundation, that's not metaphor. That's structure. That's leadership. That's the backbone of any winning team. And Cleveland's is made of Jenga blocks. And let's not even get started on the financials. Actually, no, let's get started. Because that Watson deal, it's not just a controversial choice. It's a handcuff. A golden diamond-studded handcuff that locks the Browns into a future they can't afford to get wrong. They gave up picks, cap space, their public image. And now they're boxed in. They have to make it work with Watson, no matter what. Even if he's underperforming. Even if the locker room is tense. Even if the fans are whispering, Joe Flacco is better. You can't rebuild when your franchise quarterback is untradeable and your cap sheet is a horror movie. You just keep patching holes and pretending the ship isn't sinking. That's what Kelce was calling out. The illusion of progress. The idea that as long as you have some talent and a few big names, you're in the hunt. But talent without direction? Just noise. Just potential that never cashes out. And that's why this whole thing matters. Not because Jason Kelce said something spicy, but because everything he said was right there on the surface. Anyone who's been paying attention knew it. Kelce just said it first. Louder. Clearer. And now, Cleveland's stuck trying to shout over the echo. But maybe that's a good thing. Because what if this is a turning point? What if getting publicly roasted by a respected veteran is the jolt they needed? What if, instead of defending the status quo, the Browns finally break it? What if they stop chasing splashy signings and start building something real? What if they finally commit to long-term planning instead of panic moves? What if they prioritize structure over sizzle? Imagine a Cleveland team with a clear identity, a real culture, a front office and coaching staff aligned in purpose, a quarterback who doesn't just flash talent, but leads consistently year after year. Imagine the Browns actually being boring in the best possible way. Not a weekly soap opera, not a punchline, not a drama magnet. Just a good, solid, playoff contending football team. That's the dream. That's the potential. And Jason Kelce, whether he meant to or not, just held up the blueprint. So now the Browns have a choice. They can keep pretending the criticism is unfair, keep spinning the same excuses, keep getting mad every time someone points out the obvious. Or they can wake up, get honest, get serious. Because the AFC North isn't slowing down. And the NFL doesn't wait for anyone. Not even Cleveland. You got a franchise with one of the most tortured histories in professional sports. A team that's been searching for stability longer than some of their current fans have been alive. And just when they thought they were climbing out of that deep, dysfunctional hole, Jason Kelce showed up with a shovel full of hard truth and dumped it right on their front porch. And Cleveland, true to form, responded not with humility, not with introspection, but with offense. They got mad, not motivated, not focused, mad, which tells you everything you need to know. Because confident teams don't flinch when someone takes a shot. Confident teams don't panic when the media heat turns up. Confident teams let their record speak. They let the scoreboard do the talking. But the Browns? They're yelling over the buzzer, waving their hands, arguing with the ref, blaming the spotlight for catching them out of position. That's why Kelce's comments hit so hard. Because he wasn't speaking to the noise around the Browns. He was speaking to the heart of the problem. And let's really talk about heart for a second. Because if Cleveland wants to become the team they keep insisting they are, they're going to need more than a flashy QB and a strong defensive front. They need grit. They need focus. They need humility. The kind that says, yeah, we've messed this up, but we're not doing it again. Because the moment you start believing your own hype, and Cleveland's been drinking their own Kool-Aid since that one playoff win in 2020, you stop doing the work. You start chasing headlines instead of habits. And that's how you end up exactly where the Browns are now. Overpaid, underperforming, and mad that someone dared to notice. So let's play this out. What happens if the Browns don't take this moment seriously? Well, best case scenario, they limp through the season, finish with 9 wins, maybe sneak into a wild card spot, and get bounced by a team with actual structure. Everyone goes, hey, at least we made the playoffs. And they convince themselves that's enough to run it back. But nothing really changes. And a year later, they're right back here, defensive, disorganized, and desperate. Worst case scenario, Watson underwhelms again. Injuries pile up. The locker room fractures. Coaching changes are back on the table. And suddenly, you've got another start from scratch moment, but with no cap space, no draft flexibility, and a quarterback you can't move. That's the cliff they're dancing on. And it's not that anyone's rooting for them to fall. We're not here to see Cleveland burn. We're here because we want to see them finally win. Because when the Browns are good, football is better. The drama is juicier. The rivalries are fiercer. The league feels more balanced. But you can't fast-track success. You can't buy your way to culture. You have to build it. And right now, the Browns are still writing checks they haven't earned. Let's be honest. In any other franchise, Deshaun Watson's leash would be tightening. Not just because of the off-field optics, which we're not even diving into here, but because of his on-field performance, the decision-making, the mechanics, the chemistry. It's all been inconsistent. But in Cleveland, they're locked in. That contract is a Titanic, and no one wants to admit it hit the iceberg. So now you've got coaches walking on eggshells, a roster quietly wondering if this is going to be another wasted year, and fans, bless them, just hoping this is finally the turning point. Maybe it is. Maybe all of this, the Kelce drama, the media scrutiny, the locker room whispers, is exactly what this team needed, because sometimes the only way to move forward is to get hit in the mouth, and that's what Jason Kelce did. He didn't whisper. He didn't sugarcoat. He came in with a verbal stiff arm and said, fix it, or keep embarrassing yourselves. Now it's on Cleveland, because Kelce's not going to walk it back. He said what he said, and he's already back in retirement, probably crushing beers in a tank top somewhere, while Cleveland scrambles to prove him wrong. But here's the twist. He wants them to prove him wrong. We all do, because we've seen what this team can be. That 2020 playoff run, it wasn't a fluke. That defense last season, absolutely elite. Myles Garrett is a game wrecker. Nick Chubb, before the injury, was a top 3 back without question. And when they're clicking, the Browns look like a team that belongs deep in the postseason. But then it fades. Every time, something goes wrong. The wheels fall off. The excuses start. It's always something. An injury, a miscommunication, a blown assignment, a drop pass, a blown call. And suddenly it's not just a loss. It's a collapse, a full system failure. And the season spirals. And it's that pattern that Kelce called out. Not just the individual pieces. The pattern, the culture, the cycle. Because talent doesn't mean anything if the foundation underneath it is cracked. And no one's had more chances to get it right than Cleveland. So what now? Do the Browns come out with a chip on their shoulder, channel all this drama, and finally lock in? Do they take the criticism to heart, double down on fundamentals, and quietly start proving the world wrong? Or do they do what they've always done, make noise, start fast, unravel, and end up exactly where they started? It's one or the other. There's no more in between. No more next year. No more blame shifting. No more, but we've got the talent. No one's buying it anymore. Because now you've got someone like Jason Kelce putting you on blast. And whether you like it or not, the spotlight's on. Every play, every press conference, every decision. It's all being watched, not with judgment, with curiosity. Can Cleveland finally take the leap? Can they become a team that doesn't just flirt with success, but owns it? Or will they keep writing the same story, new cast, same ending? All right, your turn. Do you think the Browns have what it takes to rise above this and make Kelce eat his words? Or is this just another chapter in the most painful long-running drama in the NFL? Drop your thoughts below. We're dying to know. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button if you live for deep dives, spicy takes, and front row seats to the most dysfunctional show in football. Give the video a like if you've ever rooted for the Browns, or just love watching them teeter on the edge of greatness and chaos. Because this isn't just football. This is Cleveland football. And it's never just a game.